Hi everyone! I have a lot of OCs. I love drawing them, I love talking about them, and I love making videos about them. I also really love collecting dolls and customizing them. To me, it's another way to artistically express myself. For this video, I decided to combine the two and turn one of my characters into a doll. I will be making Bonnie. If you want to know more about her, I have a video dedicated to her. This time I want to focus on the doll itself. As a base, I will be using Monster High G3 Neon Fright Twyla that I bought a while ago. I looked through my collection again, realized I don't really care about this doll anymore, so I'm using it for a custom. I do this a lot so I don't have to always buy new dolls. Twyla is a pretty perfect base for Bonnie. She's short, has really round features and a neutral expression, and as a bonus they have a similar vibe as characters. Before we get into it, I want to say that I'm not a professional customizer, my methods are more on a budget. I'm gonna share some cheaper alternatives, along with advice on how to do this better, and with that, let's begin. First I prepare the doll, I cut her hair as close to the root as possible, then move on to the kitchen. I put the doll in a cup and pour hot water in it, leave it there for a few minutes so the vinyl of the head softens. Then carefully remove the head, don't burn yourself though. Then I grab a pair of scissors and through the neck hole scrape out the rest of the hair plugs, take them out with a pair of tweezers. Then I actually super glue the doll's rib joint in place. On my Twyla it became really loose. I think it's because I boiled her a couple times while trying to fix her hair, but I glue it in place. Bonnie isn't very expressive with her body anyway, so it's alright. And I put the head back on the body. Now moving on to hair, and on this doll the hair will be partially sculpted and partially made out of yarn. I'm kind of scared of rerooting hair, so I try to avoid it. I use the doll's factory hair, I paint the hair with acrylic paint, I use yarn, or I sculpt the hair. Maybe someday I will try rerooting, but for now I will stick to cheaper methods. First I'm sculpting the bangs and middle part out of air dry clay. The reason is because I want it to be as accurate as possible. Those parts would be hard to do with just yarn. First I sculpt the basic shapes, make indents for hair strands, and I use water all the time to keep everything smooth. I leave the doll for a day until the clay is dry and start sanding the doll in preparation for the next step. I use my beautiful Hannah Montana nail file and sand the whole body so the paint sticks better. I was going to do the same on the sculpted parts too, but not to toot my own horn, but they were pretty smooth already. Then I start painting the doll, starting with white. I use acrylic paint from my local store, the brand is Happy Color, and Ardex acrylic markers. Ideally, you should also remove the factory face with acetone, but personally, if I'm fully painting the doll a different color, I just skip that step. I do thin layers, trying not to leave too many brush strokes. Sometimes I switch over to an Ardex marker. In my experience they go on a lot smoother, they're more opaque, and they don't rub off the joints as much. I did about 3 layers on the body and maybe 5 on the face to make sure I cover the factory paint. Then I paint the new skin color. The first color I picked was a little too dark. While doing this, make sure to bend the joints and again keep the layers thin. Off camera I also painted the hair. I wanted to get to my favorite part as quick as possible, so next I painted the face. I started by sketching it out first. This was fairly easy thanks to how defined Monster High face sculpts are. Twyla's features are perfect for Bonnie, so I follow them for the most part. I mix up a dark red and paint on the lips. Bonnie's lip shape is a little different from Twyla's, so I had to go a bit against the mold here. And while I have the color mixed up, I also paint her nails with it. By the way, I'm using nail art brushes for this. Then I color in her blue orbs and whites of the eyes. This part needed a couple layers to become more visible against her skin. Bonnie wears dark eyeshadow, so I paint that on next. The first marker I grabbed was too brown, so I went over it with a more fitting color. Then I used that same color on her eyebrows. Back to the eyes, I touch them up, add a simple shadow, and shade the irises. It's a little hard to see on camera, but I add a shadow on top of them and outline them with a darker blue, similarly to how I do it in digital art. Then I grab red paint again and paint 2 circles in preparation for pupils. I love this part. I touch up the lips and start adding black paint. This part is where the face starts coming together. I outline the eyes, add eyeliner and some eyelashes. I'm usually nervous when it comes to painting eyelashes, but in Bonnie's case they're thicker and kind of chunky, so it was easier than usual. I add her beauty mark, and then I remembered that she also has a little bit of acne on her face, so I quickly add that. I kind of forget she has that, even in digital art. I touch up my mistakes and add white pupils. This part was very important for me. I really like how I draw eyes, and Bonnie's eyes play a huge part in her design, so I wanted to get them right. I once got a comment that her eyes look like cameras, and I kinda love that. Add little highlights, and this part is also important. I highlight Bonnie's eyes a little differently from other characters. It's a small detail, but it adds to the design. Then I put some clear nail polish on her eyes, and the face is done. I was already so happy with this doll. The face just looks exactly how I imagined. It felt kind of uncanny to see Bonnie like this. She's kind of rocking the pixie cut though. But she needs hair, and like I mentioned, I'm using yarn. Got this light purple yarn, make sure that it's 100% acrylic. I need to make wefts out of this. First, you need to cut up a bunch of pieces of yarn. I use a ruler so they're all about the same length. Make them longer than what the final length will be. Then I tie these pieces to a brush for easy handling. You don't have to use a brush, it could be a pencil or a wooden dowel, whatever you can find. Then I start taking the yarn apart. Usually yarn is made out of 3 strands twisted together. I untwist them, and this will make the next step much easier. After that, I grab a hairbrush and start brushing out the yarn. You can also use a pet brush for this, but I don't have that. Just keep brushing until it looks something like this, and you can use the leftover fluff as stuffing. Next, I grab my hair straightener and on a low heat start straightening the yarn. This is why it's important to use acrylic yarn. Other kinds of yarn can take heat like this. I go over it a couple times until it's nice and silky and looks like hair. And then you have to make more, and more, and more. Make more than you think you need, trust me. But I couldn't ignore it any longer. The yarn I bought isn't the correct color. The yarn is much more warm toned than Bonnie's hair, so I had to fix this somehow. I could just paint the hair a more warm-toned purple and go with it, but it's just too different from Bonnie's design. I tried to paint the wefts with the same marker I used on a doll, and it looked less warm, but now it was just way too dark. Then I remembered that I have some white yarn lying around, so I quickly made some test wefts the same way as before, painted them, and yeah, it was a much better match, I'm afraid. So I had to repeat the same mind-numbing process again, but with white yarn. That wasn't fun. I don't know why I didn't think of this before going and buying new yarn, but whatever, moving on. Next step is to glue the wefts to the doll. Don't worry, I'm not gonna throw away those first wefts. I'm actually gonna use them on the back of her head and hopefully it will create a gradient kind of effect. I'm using a clear craft glue. I know fabric glue can work really well too. I have used hot glue as well. It's a lot quicker, but it's also kind of messy and you have to work really fast. If you want a cleaner looking result, hot glue isn't the best option. One small piece at a time, I start at the back, apply glue, kind of feather out the ends and blend them into the scalp. I've used this method on my Elizabeth custom and it worked pretty well, but I was a bit nervous about how it will look on this doll. I gave Elizabeth mostly black hair and it's a lot harder to see mistakes on black hair, but this doll has light hair, therefore mistakes would be much easier to spot. Yarn is a really good cheap alternative for doll hair. It's pretty versatile, you can get all kinds of hair textures out of it. You can use it as it is to do locks or braids. If you take it apart you can do curly or wavy hair, depends on the yarn itself. And obviously you can do straight hair. It's also really fun to style. Yarn kind of defies gravity and you can do some really crazy hairstyles with it that would be much harder to do with doll hair. But you do have to plan ahead what hairstyle you're going to do and glue the yarn strategically. You can also reroute with yarn and it takes way less time than using doll hair because yarn has a lot more volume than doll hair and you don't have to use every single plug. Now I'm at the top of her head and here I put extra effort into blending the yarn into the clay. Take your time and be generous with glue. With the glue I'm using, the hair isn't going to be forever bonded to the doll, but as long as I'm not pulling and tugging on it, it should be fine. Plus Bonnie's hairstyle is pretty straightforward, and she never styles it in ponytails or anything like that. Here's how it all looked. Not too bad. I'm glad I redid the wefts instead of going with a warm color. I like how it's peeking in the back though, it has more depth. Once the glue was dry, I painted the wefts again to help with the transition. Then she just needed a little haircut. Bonnie just has a straight shoulder-length bob, so nothing crazy here. At this point, I was so happy with how she was turning out. The hair really made her look just like my drawings. The rest of this video is going to be less thorough because, to be honest, I got tired of filming, but I will do my best to show and explain everything I did. First, I looked through all my accessories I have from other dolls to see if there's anything I can use. I did find some stuff, as well as some random supplies. First, I took a piece of wire and bent it into glasses. This one is pretty simple. Then I repainted a bunch of bracelets. Bonnie wears a lot of vintage looking jewelry, different metals and styles. These are fun. She's not gonna wear them all at the same time though, just a couple at a time. This photo is out of focus, but I did the same thing with her necklaces. But there is a necklace that's a permanent part of her design and she wears it all the time. This crystal necklace. In the story, this is where her wish powers are stored, so I had to make it. I wasn't sure how I was going to do that, but I found an earring from my core Abby, wrapped a wire around it, attached it to a tiny ball chain, and painted the chain to match. It's not an exact replica, but I'm still really happy with it. I love when I find a use for an accessory like this. With her clothes, I wanted to challenge myself. I didn't want to just recreate a specific outfit I've drawn her in. Instead, I wanted to give her a bunch of different pieces she would wear, so I could mix and match and give her different looks. This also meant that I had to make every piece removable, and for me that's a challenge. Usually on my customs I have the outfit planned out and literally stitch it onto the dolls and they just stay like that forever. I again looked through my extra doll clothes to see if there's anything I could use. First up is this dress from Fearbook Twyla. I knew for sure that I wanted to use it. It's a really cute piece and it fits Bonnie's aesthetic. Next is this two-piece set I made myself for a past restyle. It's a corset-like top and a skirt. I just sewed the velcro to it so it's removable. Then I found this little dress from Monsterista's Frankie. I painted it a dark red. The original pattern is still peeking out, but I don't mind. This one will be a nice layering piece. From that same Frankie I have this simple white t-shirt. Again, this is gonna be a nice layering piece. Next up are these simple white leg warmers. These are just tubes of fabric, nothing crazy. For her shoes, I just took the boots from New and Fried's Twyla, chopped most of them off until they look like Mary Jane's, and painted them this brownish, grayish color. I also found this belt I made out of felt and puffy paint. This is very simple as well, and I sewed the velcro to it so it can open and close. And then I made her some new pieces. First is this simple skirt. Longer skirts are kind of a staple of Bonnie style, so I had to make at least one. Then I made her a simple pair of jeans. I used a pattern that I made myself, using the tape method. Basically, you wrap the doll with tape, draw where the stitches will be, cut the tape along the lines, and boom, you have your pattern. These are simple, I didn't decorate them in any way, but they will look cute layered with skirts and dresses. Next is this brown vest I made out of felt. I traced the white t-shirt from before, just made the neckline a lot lower. I added some decorative stitches, a velcro, and that's it. I made another belt, also out of brown felt. I just cut out this piece, braided it, secured the end, and off camera I added sewing hooks to it. I couldn't find them while filming. Next I crocheted her a little shawl kind of thing. It's a net triangle with a fringe. I freehanded this and it's not the best, but it's okay. It's pretty versatile too. I can put it on her shoulders, around her arms, or tie it around her waist. I might redo it later. Then I quickly made this mesh shirt out of fishnets. I didn't expect to like this piece that much, but I really do like it. At this scale it could be a net sweater or something like that. I made the neck hole a little wide, but thanks to that it can also be worn in different ways. I also crocheted her a little cardigan. This is also freehanded. I gave it a net texture and 2 ties in the front. I made the sleeves a little too long though. And lastly, she needed tights, and with this I'm gonna show you how I imitate lace tights. I don't have fitting fabric, so instead I paint the patterns directly onto the doll's legs. You might have noticed them earlier. I tried to be kind of precise with this. I wish I used a less brown color though. Then I just put a simple pair of tights on top of the patterns. I made these out of actual tights, and this fabric is super stretchy, so I don't even bother making a pattern. I only measure how long the tights have to be, and this will also protect the paint on the legs from scratching off. But this is pretty much it. I was able to put together a few different outfits with all the pieces. That was a lot of fun. I might make her more stuff in the future. She could use more shoes, more skirts, maybe a bag? Bag? Why did I say it like that? Maybe a bag. A bag would be good. Overall, I am so happy with this doll, and I'm glad that I did this. I love when I find a doll that I don't really care about anymore, make a custom out of it, and love it a lot more. But I don't want Bonnie to be lonely, so I want to make at least one more doll of my OC to keep her company. Try and guess which one. I hope that this video was at least a little bit helpful if any of you want to get into doll customizing, but can get more expensive and professional materials. I've said it before and I will keep saying it, you don't need expensive materials to make good art. But thank you so much for watching this video, hope you enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that. Check out my other socials, they will be on the screen and in the description. Stay safe and I'll see you in another video. Bye!